Well, a hearty shalom to you, Jeffrey Seif here. I'm glad you're out there in the world, and I'm glad you care about Scripture, and I'm glad you're turning your gaze toward the tree of life, Bible translation, and society. We are, like you, loving the Word, and like you, no doubt, interested in looking to recover its essence and substance within a Jewish context. The Bible is the greatest story ever told. The Jewish connection to the literature throughout is the greatest story never told. And we're pressing into that. And thank you for joining me and us and for caring and sharing. We're looking in the Hebrew Bible at Parashat Balaam, a very interesting section in the book Bamidbar in Numbers. I mention that because the wilderness journey for the Israelites is just about over. Numbers records what some call the highlights, I call the lowlights of the wilderness trek, and you can see how they left Sinai after being camped there for a year or so, and then off they go. It was supposed to be a short trip, but the whole thing went terribly wrong. We are at the end of the wrong right now, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get a little queer, a little odd in this reading. The children of Israel are making their way through Transjordania. They are southeast, heading northbound, and there are skirmishes. Nations are coming out and putting armies to field against the Hebrews, and they're not having good success. I don't mean the Hebrews aren't. They're having wonderful success, but the neighbors are just falling like dead flies. And this prompts one of these guys, Balak, to go searching for a religious answer to his military problem. It wasn't at all uncommon in antiquity. People are religious. They are superstitious religious, and they call forth their religious divines to pray over the armies, and then whoever wins the battle obviously has the strongest god. It's the way that it was perceived in antiquity, and Balak perceives that the Hebrews have a very strong God. So what he does is he contracts with a prophet for profit, a P-R-O-P-H-E-T prophet for profit, P-R-O-F-I-T. He pays him handsomely to come and curse the Hebrews, thinking that, these other armies have gone out to field against the Hebrews and have been decisively defeated, and my army's no better than theirs. In fact, right now my army's quaking in fear. So he wants to take it to another level, and he looks to get involved in the spiritual warfare component. Let me get a religious gunslinger to come here and take care of business. See if we can do it like that. So that's what's at play here. And he contracts with this guy, Balaam, to come and give him a word, give him a curse. And Balaam does. But he does it with a condition. He says, listen, here's the gig. I'm going to say whatever I got to say, and you can't control the words. Agreed. They come to terms, and he comes and pays, and he prays. And the king wants a refund. He's very, very unhappy. And why is that? Because instead of cursing the Hebrews, he blesses. And the king is beside himself. Why, I told you got to come and curse them. He says, okay, but let me go to another mountain and look at him from another angle. So he does and goes, and he blesses him again. And the king is just beside himself. Now, that's odd, to be sure. There are other oddities associated with this. While en route, there's an angel there with a flaming sword, and the prophet doesn't see it, the donkey does. And there's a story of, the prophet beating his donkey. I'm going to get back to that in a moment, because I think that story is there to anticipate a problem. And the problem is, when you look at these prophecies that this pagan prophet for profit utters, they come true. And it begs the question, how can someone like that speak like this? It's not just that his patron who hired him asked the question, how can you bless? But when you look, and you got to look at the text yourself, not just rely on the preacher on a Saturday or on a Sunday or me for a 10-minute little exposition to run through it all. If you would, just take a moment and pick it up. Look at the text in the story. It's just absolutely fascinating. You look in chapter 23, you look at chapter 24, which is where I am now, these blessings, how marvelous are your tents, O Jacob. And if you look at the last oracle in chapter 25, which has messianic import, by the way, he says, I see a star rising, it's going to crush the heads of Moab. And all these enemies that come up against the Hebrews are going to be decisively defeated. He says it very explicitly. He paints the defeat of the nations round about very forthrightly, as well as gloriously. He gives voice to Israel's ultimate triumph, and his patron is absolutely beside himself. How can you do this? I paid you good money. The question isn't just something, as I mentioned earlier, that his patron would ask, but intelligent people ask the question today when they read the text, how can God prophesy through someone like this? It just seems odd. I believe that the text anticipates the question. The reason why I say that is in advance of these prophetic oracles, there's a story when he's en route there. The donkey that he's riding sees danger ahead, and the prophet doesn't see it, and the donkey turns around and says, look, we got to get out of the way, etc. And the prophet's beating him because he's oblivious to it. The point is, God can even speak through a dumb ass, through a dumb donkey. I mention that because I believe this anticipates the objection. God can speak in different ways. His ways are mysterious. And to accomplish his purposes, he can just about do whatever he darn well pleases. Now, the implications to this are very profound. Heaven's help can come from different places, and we do want to be open to it. Sometimes heaven's help can come from a person. Someone's lonely and looking for God answers to their dilemmas, and someone shows up. Sometimes heaven's help can come from just a heathen employer who isn't a very godly person, but he sees in you certain qualities and gives you a job that becomes something of the answer to your prayers. It can be that even triumph can come out of tragedy. Someone dies and they leave a bequeathment, and it helps someone satisfy certain financial pressures that are imposing upon them. The earth is a sphere, and you can be there on the ocean, and you can look out and see nothing. Just because you don't see something doesn't mean a vessel isn't coming your direction. All that it means is it's over the horizon, because the earth is curved and you can't see downward. You can only see out, straight out. I mention that because help can come from different places, and help can be on the way, and we don't even necessarily know it. But here's something we know, and as I close the book for today's little Torah study, we can know what the prophet said: no weapon formed against us shall prosper. We can know that our help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. We can know that God is watching over his word to perform it, and awesome are his ways. Thank you so much for just turning my way for 9 minutes as we take a look at the book. And may God bless you and keep you, make his face to shine upon you, and be gracious unto you. God bless.